Hello, friends.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
Playoffs?
Seton Hall. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats.
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Goes down the field for Smith.
Oh, he got it.
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
I was looking over all these. I was looking over just NFL teams last night as I was watching the Vikings game, and a lot of teams I think you could see move on from their head coach in the offseason. First and foremost, the Chicago Bears, right? It can't get any more obvious than that. There have been multiple rumors that Matt Nagy will be done after the season, and to be quite honest with you, I don't know how he still has a job right now. I really, it's a genuine surprise to me that Matt Nagy still has a job. It really is, because I don't understand it. I don't get it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer, what a disaster he has been. I mean, I don't think things could have gone much worse for him in Jacksonville right now. And, of course that team is definitely young. I get that. But, I mean, I don't know. Look at all the other teams out there that have young guys and are doing well. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals, for crying out loud. They've got arguably the youngest team in the league. And, they're probably going to win their division. You know what I mean? And, like, it's just, I don't know. Urban Meyer, I just don't think has. I don't know what to say other than it's been a disappointment, to say the least. Because, I mean, and I think that they kind of got. I think they kind of got hurt on front office decisions, letting Gardner Minshew go, because, I understand it was one game against the Jets, but he had an awesome game against the Jets with the Eagles last week. And I saw a graphic on Instagram from NFL, or NFL and CBS or Twitter, whatever it was. It was comparing Trevor Lawrence to Gardner Minshew's first 8 starts or whatever it was, and Minshew had the better numbers by a mile. And I'm not saying that Trevor Lawrence can't have success in the NFL, but I mean, you look at that team and what's the surrounding cast? Who do they have other than Laviska Shenault, who I never heard of until last year? They don't have anybody, and I think that's the problem, is that they're so focused on the quarterback, and they're so focused on who's our franchise quarterback going to be. I mean, they've had how many guys at the quarterback position in the past couple of years? They had Gardner Minshew, Nick Foles, Jake Luton, Mike Glennon, and now Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's like 5 guys in 3 years. And, I mean, I think they're just so focused. They're so worried about the quarterback that they're not focusing on the fact that, you need a full 11 guys on offense to be successful. It's not just the quarterback. And who knows, if they get a surrounding cast for Trevor Lawrence, who knows? That could be, he could be good, but I just don't think that Urban Meyer has really done a good job of taking what they've had and making something out of it. Because you look at other teams that, have, taken a bunch of nobodies and gone out and done something. I guess you could look at a team like, I don't know, who's out there? Who's a team that doesn't really have anybody, but they're successful? I'm trying to think. And, I guess you could say, kind of say the 49ers, I guess. I mean, they have a few talented pieces, but there's nobody that you look at other than what's his name? Deebo Samuel. Other than him, there's not really anybody you look at and say, "Oh my goodness, that's a amazing player." And yet they're going to probably make the playoffs this year, which is wild. But I just, and especially in that division, right? Indianapolis, I think they're sub 500, right? So, they're not doing great, but they're not horrible. The Houston Texans are horrible, and Jacksonville lost to them week 1. Tennessee is just falling right now. They just don't have Derrick Henry. So, what else can you say? But I just don't think that Urban Meyer is a guy that is respected in that locker room right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired at the end of the season. The New York Giants, Joe Judge. The team has been stuck. The Giants have been stuck in a rut since he took over. There has been no improvement. And you look at, Daniel Jones, I don't think he's the future guy for New York. I just don't. But he can still play well enough to win some games, right? Especially when you have Saquon Barkley and Kenny Galladay. And, they don't have amazing talent on that team. But I think they have, guys that are good enough to be better than what they are right now. And I just don't think that. And the problem with Joe Judge is you look at him right now, and the Giants make a lot of the same mistakes, and there's been no improvement for the past, however long he's been the coach. The Minnesota Vikings, Mike Zimmer, they have arguably the most talented team in the league. But their defense has not been good enough in many games this season. We saw it again last night. They had a 29-0 lead, and their defense almost blew it. And I've heard some rumors swirling in Minnesota, and I feel like the fans might be getting sick and tired of Mike Zimmer, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was let go at the end of the season. The Denver Broncos with Vic Fangio, similar to Minnesota and New York, where they've just kind of been stuck in a rut ever since he took over, and they just haven't really gone anywhere. And they have plenty of talented pieces. Teddy Bridgewater may not be the future quarterback, but they still have Melvin Gordon and Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant. They have a very talented offense, and their defense, has kind of been hit or miss. But you look at the Denver Broncos and you think they'd be better than what they are right now, and I think a lot of that boils down to coaching. The Seattle Seahawks with Pete Carroll, I've heard rumors that he's gonna be fired after the season, but I would like to see him stay. I think that for them right now, a lot of people are are blaming him for their lack of success this season. And you look at that division, and what more can you ask for, right? The LA Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, and 49ers are all probably going to make the playoffs. And when you have 3 playoff contending teams or playoff favorites in your division, 3 out of 4, 75%, with you being the 25%, you being the odd one out, I don't really know that there's much you can really say or do about it. It's just kind of the way it is, and it's just going to be a tough competition for them. And especially with Russell Wilson getting hurt this season, I just think that the season for Seattle has kind of been disappointing for sure. But I think there's been a lot of things that haven't gone their way, and I don't know that you can really contribute or attribute it to Pete Carroll. The New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton, similar to Seattle, I've heard that he's going to be gone after the season. I don't see it. I think he should stay a few years. But I think that what really hurt New Orleans this year is how they botched the quarterback issue after Jameis Winston got hurt. With Jameis Winston, they were arguably going to be, they were going to make the playoffs. That's just the way it was. They were really good with Jameis Winston, and he gets hurt, which stinks. It's a shame. But it was before, and the other thing is, I get it. It was a day before the trade deadline, so I'm not really sure what you can really do at that point. But still, you got to make some moves here if your quarterback goes down. They didn't sign a guy in free agency. They didn't trade for anybody when they could have. And they let Trevor Siemian play for, 4 or 5 weeks before they decided to put Taysom Hill in against Dallas. And, he did wind up with 4 interceptions in that game, but he in the early going of that game, he was doing pretty good. He played pretty well up until the end of the game where he, kind of blew it. But I think the New Orleans Saints really, really mishandled the quarterback issue. And I think that's going to hurt Sean Payton's chances of staying in New Orleans. The Carolina Panthers with Matt Rule, in the past three or four years, they've had, the past few years, they've had 3 or 4 different quarterbacks start during his tenure, and the team really hasn't done anything. Like, the team hasn't gone anywhere. And I wouldn't be shocked if he got another year, but I think that patience might be wearing thin with him right now. And they've had they had Teddy Bridgewater last year. They had PJ Walker. They had Kyle Allen, I think it was. They had, and then this year they had Sam Darnold and PJ Walker again, and then Cam Newton comes back, and they're probably going to miss the playoffs yet again. And they have, and Christian McCaffrey gets hurt all the time. I get it, but they've got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. They got somebody else. They got another good wide receiver. I can't remember the name, but the point is, their offense is talented. Where if they get a good quarterback, Carolina could be a very good team, and their defense is nothing to sneeze at either. Their defense is pretty good, and yet they're 5-7 this year, and it's been another disappointing year for Carolina. And last but not least, the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell, and I doubt that he'll be fired, but if he did, I don't think I would be too surprised, because they're 1-10-1. I mean, as I said, the Detroit Lions have gone through about as many different head coaches as anybody in the league. And I think that patience is wearing thin for their fan base. I think their patience is wearing thin, and I think that with each new head coach that they hire, they are they just want immediate success, and that's not going to happen. But I think that's that is what people are trying to expect, because they just haven't won any games. They haven't been very good for a long time, and that's just where the Detroit Lions are at. So, unless they start winning some of these games to end the season, I wouldn't be shocked if he was let go.